say that right now it is beneficial. So people will think that I have to pay early.
At least we are heading towards that.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Mr. Coyote, if I can.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. ID, I guess, means independent director.
Yes.
So you also said that anybody who is being appointed a director should be very careful now because of blah, 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 so many problems, etc. So for smaller companies like ours, and if like what I understand is you need independent directors for CSRs and all those things. So it would be very difficult to get independent directors. Now, what is the definition of an independent director?
See, the concept of an independent director comes from clause 49 of the listing agreement. There is a criteria that has been prescribed by the government. If in a nutshell, the independence of a director is that he is on an arm's length basis, his relationship with the company. He's not entering into any material transactions. He's not accepting any favors or he's not entering into any financial transactions with the company or the subsidiary company or the associate company in a manner which would compromise on his independence. Now, what is the concept of independence is that the board of directors are generally perceived to be trustees. They are sitting there to discharge their fiduciary obligations. So you need, that criteria is very easy. It's not something which is very difficult. So you need to get a guy who's got virtually no business with your company, or he's not entered into any financial transaction with any of the directors or the holding company. So once you get that individual, I think so you're through. But the key thing is that the threshold limit of 5 crores is so low, and the threshold limit for 10 crores for setting up the committees is so low. It does not warrant having an audit committee, because so long as you have a chartered accountant who's taking care of all your needs, these things may not be required. I mean, that's my personal opinion. Then the government has also constituted a concept called Directors Data Bank. So there is, I think so, Prithvi Haldia is one gentleman based in Delhi. He's got a data bank of directors, and there are individuals who have volunteered their information who would be willing to act as directors. So you can either source from them also. But ultimately, it is your choice, so you can pick up anyone you want to choose.
Yeah, but so from what I understand is an independent director cannot be a relative.
I beg your pardon? He's a director.
No, can he be a relative of,
No.
say it's a private limited company, so which is 100% family owned. So an independent director cannot be a relative.
Yeah, so if he's a relative, then he loses the independence, because an independent director is basically entrusted with the task of, he's a member of the audit committee or the nomination committee. So there are tasks which he has to review what the management is doing, executive management is doing. Therefore, the government believes that those individuals who do not have any relationship, fiduciary or otherwise, only they can qualify as independent directors.
So by that, I mean all privacy of a private limited company is lost.
Absolutely. Why private limited company? I mean, you look at entities like Yes Bank, there are strategic decisions that are taken. You look at SDFC, I mean, we are a conglomerate. I believe all relationship is based on trust. Okay, you meet some individual. I mean, you don't just pick up anyone on the street and say that, okay, you become a director. These are your aspirations which you'll talk about. There are things which will be discussed in the board meetings. So out of the blue, if the government feels that, in the next 1 year you need to change your board, and you can't have these guys on board. Like, look at companies like SDFC, we don't have a promoter. So virtually in the next 5 years, my entire board is going to be changed. So we need to have a succession plan in place. Now 5 years is nothing if you want to make history for a nation that is growing. So your privacy goes. So then you need to look at professionals. I mean, he cannot be a chartered accountant or anything, but then you need to look at professional. That is the best source that you can get. One-shot solution.
Okay, thanks. And the limits for the CSR was, you said 5 crore of net profits, that's PBT?
Yeah, that's profit under section 198. After you calculate your remuneration, I mean, you provide for all expenses,
so that's
depreciation. Yeah.
Something like the PBT?
Yeah.
Okay, and otherwise 100 crores of turnover.
Yeah. So it's a very, the threshold is very small. Basically, the government believes that the profits can be put to better use. It is likely to be challenged constitutionally. There are petitions that are going to be imposed, because I am told that Jharkhand, the state government of Jharkhand, has, in addition to the 2%, has imposed 1% CSR on the companies based in Jharkhand. So you can imagine if tomorrow other ministers copy paste this provision, yeah, the cost of compliance and governance in this country is going to increase for no fault of ours.
So what happens if we don't fulfill the CSR conditions?
The requirement under CSR is there are no penal provisions, but you're required to disclose as to what is the extent of compliance that is done. And then if you don't comply, then you could have, you're giving the MCA officials an opportunity to come after you.
But if are there any additional financial penalties or anything?
Nothing. So
So
that's
what-
the leeway the government has given as of now. But probably in 3 or 4 years' time, they'll introduce something. But then the directors will be looked with suspicion, saying that you were supposed to do it, why didn't you do it, where is the money? So they'll come after you, and then it could be tantamounting to fraud or something.
Yeah, but as of today, there are no
Nothing,
financial penalties.
nothing. It is just
at the
comply
most,
and
they
report.
walk into my office and trouble me.
That will happen. In fact, we have set an S.D. Parekh Foundation in the memory of our founder chairman. I'm one of the directors, and it's available on the website. So there are people who come and tell me that, you better give me, I got this NGO and, I'll do this and all that.
Yeah,
In
but
fact,
for-
in one of our applications to the income tax department under 8IG, the concerned officer said that, you need to meet me, you can't forget me. That's how blatant he was. And I've requested Mr. Parekh that I need to get off that company as early as possible.
Yeah, but for smaller companies like ours, so there are no financial or penal provisions.
No, it's
so
not there. It's just disclosure. Basically, it's disclosure.
so we can always disclose I have not done it and sit cool.
Right now, yes.
Yeah, okay. Thanks a lot. Mr. Agarwal,
Yeah, sure.
take much times.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Mr. Agarwal, you mentioned that if we take forex loans, the rates today are around 6-7% without hedging.
It's actually foreign currency loans when we give, it is not on LIBOR.
Okay.
We take deposits from NRIs or NR.
Okay, so they are not LIBOR linked basically.
They are LIBOR plus. So it's not always LIBOR or LIBOR minus. The rates are generally depending, they are free rates. Most of the rates are free now. So we get at some rate and then we add our own spread, basis which we offer these loans. So it's not as if like if you have a LC backed bias credit, we can arrange that for say LIBOR plus say 70 basis point from some of the other bank. But if it is our own deposits, then it goes by the cost plus spread which we are looking for.
So basically, this is different from an LC-backed bias credit.
Yes. Bias
Okay, so
credit is
that's why
completely
it's
yes.
much more costly.
Bias credit is completely different because we can issue guarantees to any other bank which has a very low cost of foreign currency. Say HSBC is having money at LIBOR, and we are giving guarantee to HSBC. So they may give at 70 basis point, 80 basis point, LIBOR plus 70, 80 basis point. That is a completely different transaction than if we are giving directly money. LC is available only for 180 days. For capital goods, it's slightly longer.
Thank you very much. Thank you, all of you.
Any more questions? Rajesh bhai, your special question.
Yeah, I have a small question to Mr. Kinare. You were talking about the reverse taxi. Like if you're involved with transport, security and all that, does it make it compulsory for all of us to take service tax number?
If you have received that service, yes.
All of us are bound to receive service sometime or the other. And none of us, as printers, don't have service tax number otherwise.
No, so that's what I'm saying, that whenever you receive this service, right, and if it is fitting in that parameters, your liability arises, so you have to take a registration, pay the liability, file a return also. I mean, suppose you have received a goods transport service, you will be taking a registration, not as a printer, you will be taking a registration under goods transport category service.
That is irrespective of the 10 lakh exemption?
Yeah. For reverse charge, there is no exemption. That's why I think I have explained, even if you receive 50,000 rupees of goods transport bills, 50,000 also is a very big amount still. Even if 10 rupees is there, tax liability is there, you have to do it.
There's one question which I would like to ask Neil. This section 20, the 25 crore cap that the government has brought down from 100 CR. Now, what if a printer has just invested 25 crores just last year? Any guys off the record, loopholes, where because he's just done a huge capex last year or probably this year before the amendment came in. How do he have a respite? Anyway,
I have changed that, and they've increased the holding period from 12 months to 36 months. In effect, what it has resulted is in that if you have money in debt fund typically means where more than 50% of the allocation is in non-equity, whether it's liquid or debt. So those all instruments, tomorrow, if you sell it, it will be a short-term gain liable to 30% tax. In effect, what it has resulted is people have now started to rethink whether they want to sell it now or hold it for 3 years and claim exemption as a long-term capital asset or the lower rate of tax. Very big and nice article was there on this in the papers also today.
okay. Thank you.
Sure.
So no more questions? Yes, sir. Mike, please. So your name and the firm's name. I know you're from GP Offset, but still.
I'm Subramaniam from GP Offset Private Limited. Now, we had bought a densitometer costing around 15 lakhs. Okay, the supplier, he split the bill into, say, 3 lakh hardware and the rest of software. Now, what are the TDS and service tax implications in this?
I'll deal with the TDS bit, and I'll ask Mangesh to deal with the service tax side.
Can you please?
Yes, sure. Is your supplier an Indian supplier, or is he a Indian supplier who has provided you software?
Yes. He has split the bill into 2 bills.
Right. So he is giving you
Hardware
and embedded software on it for use.
Correct.
Understood. Now, what happens is if he split the bill for you, you are recording 2 separate assets in your books of accounts. One is the hardware, and the second is the software.
Yeah, but one is the secondary to the other.
Either ways, today if I buy a laptop with a Microsoft Office embedded on it, that is not, I don't, if I'm paying a separate consideration or if I have a separate bill for it, they are 2 separate assets for me, irrespective of me buying the laptop. Now, what happens in case of the service, the software being purchased from an Indian supplier, it will be regarded as a payment of royalty, unless the agreement between your supplier and you says you are purchasing all rights, including the right of reselling that software. If you are only getting the right to use and not a right to resell, you are only getting a license and you're not buying the software, so to say. So a purchase of a license will be treated as royalty payment on your side, which will attract TDS under any circumstance.
What percentage?
The TDS on royalties is, I think it is 10%, if I'm not wrong. I'll ask Mangesh to deal with service tax.
Service tax means on.
Will this be treated as a service?
No, you have received it, no?
Yes.
You have received, so there's no question. There's no reverse charge in this software. Yeah, in software they might have charged the service tax, and if at all there's any output service, you can claim CENVAT credit of that. You should not capitalize that service tax portion.
I'll request Mr. Manish Arora, Group Executive Vice President and Country Head, Emerging Business Banking at Yes Bank, to share his thoughts on this.
Yeah, good evening. I just want to, say thanks from the bottom of my heart, to all of you. I think 3 entities were very important. One is, good participants. Second is, a good host. And third is, good speaker. So I think all 3 of them, made a very good cocktail today. And we had a very wonderful session, with the, BMPA and from Yes Bank. Naturally, Vikas came into a picture, and they both merged and made it a wonderful event, especially in the season where monsoon is playing havoc, having incessant rains going on. So you guys made it up, came at the right time. We could start the session in time, and we had such eminent speakers who came with a bundle of knowledge around all the major topics, I think, which are very relevant to the businessmen. Taxation, both indirect, direct, both got covered. your company's law naturally, need to have good knowledge about it, because all of us aspire to become a private company, one day or the other. Maybe you are a proprietorship company, maybe you are a partnership company as of now, but all of us, want to go, one step ahead, in future. So knowledge, from Girish was very, very important. So I want to, thank, speakers, and participation was wonderful. Where we could get very relevant, questions coming in, which were surely would have, given you immense thoughts on how to move forward in terms of, making your organization more efficient and competitive. Whether it is banking, whether it is, taxation. If any association, is efficient in both, banking and taxation, I think that organization can really do well. And we hope that this session will help you in growing faster with better profits and more revenues for your, organization. So thanks to all of you.
You all have been a wonderful audience and very patient too. I'll request you all to please be seated for few more minutes, as I would like to thank our special guest today. I'll request Mr. Akshay Sapru to please come on stage and give a token of appreciation to Mr. Girish Koliote. Thank you, Akshay. I'll request Mr. Malcolm Athaide to please come here and give a small little token of appreciation to Mr. Neil Majithia. I now request Mr. Manish Agarwal, President and Chief Risk Officer of Yes Bank. He's just around. Mr. Puneet Nagpal, can you please come on stage to give a little token of thanks to Mr. Kinnare? I'd request Sanjay sir to give a small token to our very backbone, Mr. Vishwanath Shetty. And this time our event was more successful with some special contribution done by none other than our Mr. Arvind Dhanani. So I'll request Mr. Nilesh Goge to please come on the stage. Mr. Manish Agarwal, I'll request you to please come on stage to give a little present to Mr. Fahim Agbotwala for his tremendous contribution. And as it always says,